Now, let's go to the next step, a very important one, but very complex and difficult.
Grandes cambios que ha habido. El gran cambio quizá más importante es que se ha añadido una nueva asignatura.
BFR and IFR communications. Both of these subjects deal with the way of communicating between aircraft. These questions have very subjective answers, as it always depends on your skills, preferences.
From zero to hero. Discover the complete process to become a professional pilot with the European Aviation School of Barcelona, an exciting path led by experts in each subject, instructors, active pilots, and students. From zero to ATPL license, we will reveal all the mysteries and answer all the questions. We will fly, learn, and enjoy the adventure.
Now the theory part has changed a lot. The subjects and the exams are more available for each student because you are able to take, let's say, 5 subjects or 4 subjects, and I'm doing that one in the first attempt and I do it that other 4 in the second attempt. So you are able to do it like in parts.
A ver, la parte teórica de la formación de piloto es la más complicada. Es decir, un piloto se forma una gran parte teórica y una parte de vuelo. La parte de vuelo, digamos que es sencilla, un perfil estándar de alumno es perfectamente apto. Es muy difícil que se suspenda una parte práctica. La parte teórica es más complicada.
The ATPL Theory 14 exams, each and every one of them is very complex and has a lot of reading, and so it was tough. It was definitely tough.
La vida del piloto es dura y yo creo que ya te empiecen con esa dureza en la escuela, te están preparando para lo que te va a venir.
Yo en ese sentido sí que lo hice modular y estaba como muy sola en el proceso, pero tuve la suerte de que sí que lo hice con un compañero, entonces pues te vas apoyando el uno al otro, ¿no? Pero es verdad que al final cuando lo haces modular, y yo en mi caso lo hice online, pues te encuentras con unos apuntes que tú solo tienes que gestionar, y para mí la mejor forma de proceder con eso era pues leerme los apuntes, intentar hacer resúmenes, entenderlo todo, y una vez que lo entendía todo, intentar hacer los bancos de preguntas para ir preparada al examen, pero si no entendías primero toda la asignatura era imposible.
I was just going to work, going to class and then studying. I was waking up every day at 6 in the morning, studying until 8, and going to work from 9 to 3, then to class from 4 to 8, then back home, have dinner, study a bit more, go to sleep and repeat. And weekends I was like fully studying like the whole weekend, non-stop.
Yo siempre explico lo mismo, hay 1.000.000 de conceptos a saber. Ninguno de ellos es profundo, pero sí que los tienes que conocer. Entonces, tú cuando coges el sílabus, el temario teórico y haces un zoom en cada parte, todo es muy sencillo, pero hay 1.000.000 de cosas. Ahí radica la dificultad de hacerse piloto.
Many hours of studying, many hours, many mornings, even traveling for work or even for pleasure, waking up at 5 o'clock to study until 8, and then my day started a date with, my work, and then the same happened at night. It's just a lot of studying, a lot of reading, a lot of preparing for the exams, which is really the important thing, because then you will actually learn the real thing when you're flying. And my experience and my recommendation is, if you don't know a topic and you can't get through with it, do a question and then study why is that the answer. Not memorize, but why is that the answer? And that worked a lot for me. I started doing questions and questions, and why is that the answer? Why is it not this one? And then eventually that makes you go deeper and deeper into each and every of the subjects.
Claro, hoy en día tenemos una gran facilidad, hace 20 años no lo teníamos, de que tenemos acceso a internet a cualquier tipo de información. Entonces hoy en día cualquier duda que tengas puedes tener acceso a un vídeo explicativo con dibujos, con gráficos, etc., ¿no? Yo siempre creo que la mejor forma es no dedicarse 100% ni a un estudio teórico puro y duro, ni 100% a un estudio de banco de preguntas. Hay que hacer una mezcla. Es más, yo creo que la forma, después de años de experiencia en esto, en lo que he podido aprender es que se ha de empezar 100%, digamos, con la teoría pura y dura. Y poco a poco ir incrementando el uso de un banco de preguntas adecuado, apropiado.
I always tell as a joke to the students that as I didn't like to study a lot, I try to do it as fast as possible. So some people like to study a lot and they do the theory in 2 years, but I didn't like to do that. I wanted to finish with it as soon as I could, and therefore I was pushing it as hard as I could just to get rid of it and finish as soon as possible. So I would recommend that, to concentrate, to disregard everything else. If you don't have to, don't go to the gym, don't meet your friends, don't do anything, just study, 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 finish as soon as you can. And then once you finish, you have this sense of relief that you already done that, and then you can focus on flying and in doing all the things that are much more interesting than that.
A very interesting support that I used was aviation exam. I think it's one of the best supports to use during your ATPL theory period. And one of the things that I did was actually just read the questions, get question by question, and say, okay, I'm going to do this question, I'm going to try and answer it with the knowledge I have, and then if I did it correct or wrong, why was that the answer? And then that made me actually study the topic much more in depth, and that helped me a lot during my ATPL theory. We've overcome two of the most important steps. We've decided what pathway we're going to use to become a commercial pilot. And we've also talked about the medical certificate. Now, let's go to the next step, a very important one, but very complex and difficult. Without a doubt, we are talking about the theory exams of the ATPL license. 14 very complex exams that are very important and necessary in order to obtain that desired license. Let's see what EASA wants. Let's see what is more difficult, what is easier. Let's know everything about the theory of ATPL. We all know that getting the ATPL license is not easy. On the contrary, as we have seen, practically all those who have gone through this experience agree that successfully passing the pilot exams requires significant commitment and true vocation and sacrifice. Although it is true that the preparation has a high level of complexity, with good training and a good foundation, passing the ATPL exams should not be an impossible task. In this episode, we're going to enter the wonderful world, well, wonderful, the world of the ATPL pilot theory exams, the most feared training phase for any student. We're going to see what subjects each module includes, how to group them, the times you have in the exam, and above all, we will share with you the best tips, the best recommendations collected from dozens of pilots. That will help you better prepare for the ATPL exams. I wish I had seen this video before I started studying for the 14, now 15 subjects. As we have just said, the theoretical part of the ATPL license is made up of 15 subjects, although you will only have to take an exam in 14 of them. Each one covers very important concepts to be able to carry out a commercial flight safely. We're going to describe each of these very briefly, and I also want to include my humble point of view, taking into account my experience during the process of studying and taking exams. Air law and ATC procedures is a vital subject for airline pilots, covering airspace laws and regulations, international agreements, and air traffic control operations. It provides the knowledge necessary to effectively and legally navigate the global aviation system.
It is a subject that is part of what I call the easy ones, since it is about studying, memorizing, and above all, practicing a number of bank questions. Aircraft general knowledge focuses the study on the structure, systems, and operation of aircraft. It covers flight mechanics, propulsion systems, flight controls, and electronic and safety systems, essential for the safe operation of aircraft. It can be a subject that is difficult for those not so technical people, as it includes graphs, electronic diagrams, and calculations. But being clear about the different types of exercises, one should have no problem. The instrumentation part is a vital part as well for the airline pilots. It focuses on the use and understanding of cockpit instruments, including altitude, speed, navigation indicators, and all advanced avionics systems, as well as the errors that each of them have. The knowledge is essential to move to an instrument flight phase. The weight distribution in an aircraft, be it a Tecnam P2060 light aircraft or a heavy Boeing 777, is extremely important to carry out a flight safely. Here, you will learn the importance of a proper weight distribution, including cargo, fuel, and passengers, to maintain stability and efficiency in flight. You will also know how all these weights are calculated in their different formats. I think it's relatively simple, and the exam questions are usually very similar and follow very similar patterns. Once you're clear about each type of exercise and how to approach it, it is about repeating, and repeating. It does not have much technical difficulty. Here, we study what is the performance of the aircraft, taking into account all kinds of factors. These factors can be internal, like the aircraft itself, its weight, its propulsion system, the aerodynamic design itself, along with many other external factors such as the weather, type of runway, amongst many others. This subject has the handicap of having a lot of factor data that one has to memorize to carry out a good performance study on a graph. For example, to measure the distance needed to take off, it follows a pattern similar to that of mass and balance, in that once you are clear about the type of exercises, it is all about practicing until you get them right. A very interesting subject for me is flight planning and monitoring. It is exactly what it says. You have to focus on the creation and follow up the efficiency and safety of flight plans, which includes the evaluation of weather, the calculation of the necessary fuel, navigation, the selection of alternative routes and airports, and a long list of other factors. In addition, contingency and emergency procedures are addressed, as well as the interaction with air traffic control. Here, there is usually a lot of memorization of concepts, also have calculation exercises, especially for fuel. The human performance focuses on how human and physiological factors affect safety and efficiency in aviation. It includes the study of psychology, physiology, ergonomics, and environmental factors in flight performance. Topics such as stretch management, fatigue, decision-making, effective communication, and interaction with onboard systems and technology are also explored. It is another of the subjects that, for me, are called easy, since it's about studying, memorizing, and above all, practicing a number of bank questions. Methodology is indeed a subject that doesn't need description. Very interesting but very long, and it is possibly the subject that gives the most to talk about in a pre- and post-exam room, since the syllabus is so extensive that a 2-hour exam does not cover even the 10% of the content. It is usually classified as one of the most complex, and rightly so, but as in all, it is about studying and above all understanding the reason for each of the concepts. We're going to understand weather systems, interpretations of weather reports, forecasts, and charts. Topics also include cloud formation and precipitation, high and low pressure systems, winds, storms, turbulence, and hazardous weather events. This knowledge is crucial for planning safe and efficient flights and for making decisions in the event of adverse weather conditions. In GNAP, as it's called in the student vocabulary, you learn everything related to the navigation of aircraft, including the basic concept of navigation, the aeronautical cartography, and the use of advanced air navigation systems. You We also talk about the initiation to radio navigation procedures and other different navigation techniques. Particularly for me, it was the subject that was most difficult. I really remember the extensive amount of questions in the bank. What I suggest is to get an instructor for 2 or 3 hours, get all the concepts clear, and then go ahead and start with the question banks. Modern navigation has nothing to do with the way people navigated more than 30 years ago. And every year, there are more changes and updates. Here, you learn to navigate with radio aids, and there are many, from a simple VOR to the most modern RNAV. It covers technologies such as VOR, DME, ADF, ILS and GPS, and addresses the interpretation of radio signals to determine position and follow routes. Advanced satellite communication and flight management systems are also explored. The understanding and ability to effectively use this system is very important for navigation in all conditions, especially when visibility is limited for an instrumental flight. A theoretical subject is operational procedures, which has similarities to air law but focused on the operation of a commercial flight without going into historical or legal details. Relatively easy, and again, it's part of those easy subjects. It's about studying, memorizing and practicing bank questions. This is the most intangible of all the subjects you're going to study. Here you enter a world of abstract concepts from the world of aerodynamics. I think it is super interesting, but it has a lot of content that is not of high practical value for the pilot in his day-to-day life. Nevertheless, I think it is very important to take into account and know why your day-to-day is how it is. It provides a solid foundation in the physics and aerodynamics that make flight possible. It covers the 4 forces that act on an aircraft: thrust, drag, lift and weight, aircraft control, stability, and how these factors are affected by changing conditions. Both these subjects deal with the correct use of onboard radios, communication terminology, and procedures with air traffic control, ATC, as well as the interpretation and transmission of instructions, clearances, and the use of the phonetic alphabet. Communication procedures in emergency situations are also looked here, and international regulations are also explored. The ability to communicate effectively is vital to safety and efficiency in flight. If you have done the ATPL modular, you're probably used to this terminology, as it's going to be used in your PPL flying. If not, it's really simple.
En los últimos 25 años ha habido 3 cambios importantes, ¿no? Uno fue de un temario puro y duro OACI a un temario europeo, que fue un gran avance, y luego dentro del europeo hubo otro avance no tan superior, y ahora en la última parte ya fue con EASA, que no deja de ser una copia prácticamente de lo que teníamos anteriormente, y dentro de EASA teníamos un sílabus del año 16. Bien, este sílabus en el año 20 se empieza a publicar un nuevo sílabus que en el año 22, febrero del 22, ya era de obligatorio cumplimiento en toda Europa. Grandes cambios que ha habido. El gran cambio quizá más importante es que se ha añadido una nueva asignatura. Una nueva asignatura que radica en lo que hablábamos antes, en un conocimiento teórico profundo, una habilidad técnica de volar un avión y una actitud frente a una profesión. Entonces es una asignatura que se enfoca básicamente en un gran cambio de paradigma en la formación del piloto, en el que engloba no solo una parte técnica y de knowledge, de conocimiento, sino una parte de actitud, de que el piloto sea consciente de sus limitaciones, de unas competencias en las que va a ser evaluado. Entonces esta asignatura, que nosotros hemos sido uno de los precursores en España de esta asignatura, radica mucho en esas 9 competencias que ya hace muchos años la OACI publicó, y es una a una analizar cómo te van a evaluar como piloto profesional, y hay que fijarse en una cosa muy clara: no hay nada de habilidad. En esas 9 aptitudes hay solo una pequeñísima parte de habilidad técnica. Todo lo demás es comportamiento humano, interacción con el otro compañero, comunicación, cómo ordenas el trabajo en la cabina bajo presión, estas cabinas en situaciones de emergencia, hay presión. Y la gente, incluso por mucha personalidad que parezca que tenga, se puede llegar a desmontar. Es decir, estas cabinas bajo presión con varias emergencias a la vez es un trabajo complejo, delicado. Entonces se trata de, ese es uno de los cambios importantes, de enseñar cómo ordenar una forma de trabajo en este tipo de cabinas. Ese es uno de los grandes cambios. Otros cambios ya no tan grandes han sido, por ejemplo, hay una asignatura que en vez de 2 exámenes se hace uno, que es comunicaciones. Hay una asignatura como General Navigation, que ha habido varios cambios dentro de la asignatura en el syllabus. Otra como Derecho Aéreo, que ha habido pequeños cambios dentro de la asignatura. Y ahora últimamente, ahora desde julio, va a haber un nuevo cambio en la asignatura de Flight Planning and Monitoring. Con los Fuel Schemes son nuevas normas que entraron el 30 de octubre en toda Europa, ¿no? Esos son cambios más pequeños, digamos. El gran cambio ha sido esa nueva asignatura de Knowledge, Skill and Attitudes.
These questions have very subjective answers, as it always depends on your skills, preferences, study time, and a vast number of factors. Analyzing dozens of pilots, we have concluded that the vast majority of students think that the best way is to take the exams in 3 sessions of 5, 4, and 5 subjects respectively. When choosing these groups of subjects, you yourself must assess how to group them. As we have said, it depends on many factors. As an orientation, there are many students who study flight planning and monitoring together with methodology, GNAB, and principles of flight. Together, to put them in one session and take the exams, since they all have similar aspects. Another great group can be mass and balance, performance, and aircraft knowledge, as well as instrumentation, because they are also very similar and they also have some taxes in common. Then to finish, you will finish with the theoretical ones maybe, which are usually the easier to pass. In my specific case, I actually started with the easy ones, the theoretical ones. I needed a boost motivation, and also needed a deadline. I started with communications and ended with what for me was the most complex, GNAB. What I can assure you is that something that helped me a lot was having support and advice from experienced instructors, as well as revision weeks with your different flight instructors to prepare well for the exams, answer all your questions and broaden your knowledge. I recommend this 100%. An important factor to take into account is that when grouping the exams of the ATPL subjects, you should also take into account that there are some subjects that share a fee, and therefore, when you enroll in the same session, you will only pay one rate. Let's review what subject blocks these are. The management of student enrollment must be done by the person in charge of examinations of each ATO. As an example, the amount of fees for 2022 was €77 with 79 cents for each block of subjects. On the day of the exam, you must be at the venue 20 minutes in advance. In case you arrive late and more than 5 minutes have passed since the beginning of the exam, you will lose this score. This part is often overlooked, but it's extremely important. Before accessing the room, you must present the original registration document for the test, along with your ID and passport, depending on the document that appears on your registration. The exam consists of multiple choice questions, and you do it through the electronic exam application. There, you have everything you need to be able to take the test, including a calculator or the ruler that you will have to use at some point. All ATPL exams are in English, and you cannot bring anything into a classroom, not even a wristwatch, pen or paper. For this, lockers are available so you can leave your personal belongings, bag, mobile phone, iPad, etc. Keep in mind the time you have in each subject to take your exam, as once it's over, your computer screen will turn off and you won't be able to do anything else. And so you're not tempted to look around. Just so you know, each and every exam that your colleagues are doing around you is different and from different subjects. At the end of the exam, you will be given a printed sheet with the answers you have marked, and you have to check that they are the same ones you have marked on the computer. Once you give the OK and sign the sheet, you will go to the counter, be given the sheet with the pass or not pass along the exam note. Remember that to pass the exam, you need a 75% of minimum correct answers. You have a period of 18 months to sit and pass all the exams of the ATPL licensed subjects. This period begins at the end of the month in which you took the first exam. In addition, you have a total of 4 attempts per subject. That is, if you fail the same subject 4 times, the cycle restarts. In the case in which you register to take several exams at the same time, the maximum period between exams cannot exceed 10 working days. This is what AESA calls a session. You have at your disposal 6 sessions in total to pass the exams of all the subjects. If the case comes in which you have exceeded the 6 sessions allowed, the 4 attempts per subject, or the 18 months since the first exam, then a new cycle of a period of 18 exams begins, where you have to repeat all the exams, including the ones of the subjects you have already passed. When registering for the exams, you must choose the venue where you're going to sit and the dates you want to take them. To this end, AESA website publishes each year the venues where the electronic theoretical knowledge exams will be held, as well as the dates on which they will be operational. On the other hand, on the AESA website too, you have information as important as, for example, the maximum time available for an exam session, or the non-business dates in each autonomous community. Also the capacity of the rooms where the tests are held, or a tutorial where you can see the dynamics of the exams. In addition, you must bear in mind that you will need to practice with the distance measurement tools in the annexes and with the calculator that you will have at your disposal during the exam, so that on D-Day, everything is under control. Okay, are you ready? We're going to give you the 7 tips and recommendations that we have compiled so that you can successfully pass the pilot theory exams. Although first, let me mention you a very interesting application, Aviation Exam. Aviation Exam contains a huge database of questions that is updated weekly by a dedicated professional team. Scroll through the different subjects and choose what you'd like to get tested for. They've got a system where the user can use the exam mode or the study mode, with all kinds of different configurations. Here, for instance, I'm choosing a study mode test with 427 alternate questions from the question bank database that I chose and the subject that I chose. Once you start with the test, you can choose to go in depth with each question. For example, with this specific question that I failed, I can click on the explanation tab to know more about it. All EASA questions are linked to the section explanation of each e-textbook, so if the explanation is not enough, you can go further and just click on the e-textbook icon of the question and it leads you directly to the topic you need to know. You can also go to the user comments, which are very helpful, as many students will be giving their point of view, their tricks and tips, and other valuable information. You can click on notes and add anything you like, or you can pin or flag questions in order to review more in depth. I particularly love the Seen In part, where you can see if those questions have actually appeared in real exams in different countries. Another interesting aspect is to see your history of questions and process with which you can observe your weakest areas and focus where it costs the most. Along with all these questions, Aviation Exam has a series of super complete e-textbooks with study material adapted to electronic format and compatible with iOS, Android, Windows and Mac OS. The synergy between both products, the question bank database and the e-textbook, is very interesting, because although you can use the question bank and the e-textbook separately, there is an important benefit to using them together. Let's take a look at the e-textbook features. Only Aviation Exam's ATPL questions on the EASA database are linked to the e-textbooks. When you start a study test and go to the questions explanation, you will notice a link to the title. If you click on it, the appropriate part of the e-textbook opens up, so that you can read more about the topic. All the titles you purchase can be found on the applications library. You can decide what titles you can download to your device, so you can manage your device storage space. Clicking a title will open it. All the e-textbooks follow the official EASA learning objective structure, ensuring all objectives are covered. You can easily jump to the topic of interest you want to learn through the table of contents. All topics are presented in a well-arranged manner, and of course sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. So the titles have many illustrations and videos that you can enlarge. Time is important, and to keep your reading statistics precise, the timer stops when you are idle for too long. Certain topics are interesting, and if there is something extra that they consider useful or important, and that pilots should know, and that might be out of the scope of the learning objectives, they include it in the More Information pop-up button. If you find something you like and want to get it later, you can mark that interesting part and choose Highlight, and you can also leave a personal note in the same way. You can also adjust the font size and background color to your needs. If you need to find a specific phrase or word, use the search function. Type what you're looking for and hit search. This will take you to the part where the specific word or phrase is. There is always a lot to review to refresh your memory, so you can find a summary of everything you studied in the Before Exam button. After finishing the chapter, you can test yourself. Clicking the test button will create a test from the EASA database that is relevant to what you just read. And now, let's go ahead with the 7 recommendations. Recommendation number 1, find out about all the requirements, regulations and all the details on the exams. Before you start your preparation and the whole study process, you should familiarize yourself with the requirements and regulations set by the aviation authority of your country. That is everything we have discussed so far in this video. Therefore, if it has not been clear to you, go back to the beginning and pay attention. Recommendation number 2. Acquire quality material and quality human resources to study. Success in commercial pilot theory exams depends to a large extent on the quality of the study material you use. Be sure to get books, manuals, and other resources recommended by your school. You may also consider enrolling in a test preparation course to receive structured training with instructors and other peers, as well as access to additional resources. And related to this, we move to the third recommendation. Third recommendation, use online resources and applications. Make the most of the technology and use online resources like discussion forums, educational videos, and test preparation apps. These resources can help you supplement your study material and keep you motivated during the preparation process. There is where applications like aviation exam come in. Recommendation number 4. Establish a study plan. Design a plan that allows you to cover all the knowledge areas required for the commercial pilot theory exams. Set weekly or monthly goals and make sure you allow plenty of time to review and practice. Also keep in mind the importance of balancing study with rest and free time to avoid burnout. It seems silly, but rest and disconnection are important in the process. Recommendation number 5. You should practice exam banks questions until you can't anymore. Taking sample exams question banks is essential to assess your progress and familiarize yourself with the format of commercial pilot theory exams. These exams also allow you to identify areas where you need to improve and adjust. Recommendation 6. Join a study group. Collaborating with other aspiring commercial pilots can be beneficial to share resources, tips, and experiences. In addition, study groups offer emotional support and motivation during the preparation process. And the last recommendation is keep a positive attitude. Last but not least, staying positive and focusing on your goals will help you get through tough times and face theory exams with confidence. The preparation that leads you to obtain the ATPL license is a difficult one, but you must invest all your time and effort in attending classes and above all studying, and studying. Consistency and persistence should be your best allies in the months that prepare you for the exams. Remember that the reward will be a dream come true. Work hard, at some point you will want to throw the towel, but don't. Keep going. Never get tired of doing bank questions. Communicate your problems with instructors, classmates, family and friends, and you will see how in the end all the effort will be worth it.